The July 22, 2025 regular planning commission is called to order. The time is 6:05 p.m. Before we begin, commissioners, please put away cell phones. If you have personal business during the meeting, please move for a recess. If you are participating telephonically, please mute your phone unless you are speaking. Also, when speaking, please state your name for those streaming the meeting. As a reminder to attendees, this meeting is being streamed live. The camera is located in the back of the council chambers above the clock. Will the planning clerk please call the roll?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Seals,
Here.
Commissioner Langell,
Present.
Commissioner DeYoung,
Present.
Commissioner Stafford.
Present.
Commissioner Seals, you have a quorum with Commissioners Brown, Seals, Langell, DeYoung, and Stafford in the chambers.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Brown, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item of business is approval of the agenda. Before changes are made or discussed, are there conflicts of interest to declare? Hearing no changes to the agenda will stand as presented. Next on the agenda are reports. Do we have a report from our acting city planner?
Thank you, Chairman. A lot of good stuff happening at the city I thought I'd update you on. First is we were notified by DEC that we are eligible for some water and wastewater upgrade dollars. It's called the revolving loan fund. Based on the last census that came out, we are eligible for 100% reimbursement of anything that has to do with tank replacements. And this will also include updating our sewer master plan and our water master plan that have not been updated since 1999. That was very good news. As you know, on July 14th, Title 16 was passed by City Council. However, there are a few pieces of legislation that are trailing behind that we're codifying. One is the mobile vendor legislation to make sure that both permitting and planning and finance are aligned with that. We've been instructed to do legislation to repeal the downtown overlay district. Also, we've been asked to look at the parking requirements that are in play right now to bring forth a revision as well as a fee schedule. You might be aware there's a 30-day implementation, so when the legislation was passed on July 14th, it takes 30 days, so we have 30 days before it's actually implemented. Some major changes is a short-term rental is now going to be treated more as a license and not so much a permit. The home occupation permit is no longer. There's been quite a large revision to the landscaping requirements, and we are going from 3 permit system to a 2, so we'll either have an administrative permit or a CUP. So it eliminates the use permit from the law. And that's my update. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a report from our city attorney tonight?
No report, thank you.
Thank you.
Planning clerk to the acting city planner, do we have the Safe Streets presentation under your report also?
Thank you, Planning Clerk. I'd like to introduce our guest speaker tonight. One of the things that we've discussed in the past is bringing forward either some new technology or some new partnerships that we've been working on in the planning department. This is one of our new partnerships about how some of these acronym programs can help your neighborhoods or help our cities. And so Sarah will be giving us a presentation on the Safe Streets project that is a new piece of legislation that's gonna affect our city.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. Get this presentation pulled up. What I wanted to cover with you all tonight is give you a quick update on the Mat-Su Boroughs Comprehensive Safety Action Plan that was conducted under the Safe Roads and Streets for All program, and what it means to the city, and just give a general overview of what the Safe Streets program is about, because it does affect the city, and it is a tool that you can use to apply for grants in the future or use for your own capital planning. So what is the SS4A program, Safe Streets and Roads for All? It's about a $5 billion grant program appropriated by Congress, and it supports Vision Zero with the ambitious goal that nobody should have to die on the roadway, not even if they make a mistake. And it's a systematic approach that has redundancy built in to focus primarily on preventing serious injuries and deaths on the road, not just any fender bender crashes, but really focusing on those high impact crashes. So it's shifting a mindset away from effectively blaming drivers for making mistakes and acknowledging that safety is a shared responsibility throughout our community that belongs to engineers who design the road, drivers that use the road, our first responders who respond to crashes, and our law enforcement. And it acknowledges that we're all human, we make mistakes, but we shouldn't have to die because we make a mistake. And so how do we build a system in our network that can help you better survive a crash should one happen to you, or make it less severe if one happens to you? So one reason communities throughout the United States, including the Mat-Su Borough, jumped onto this grant program to first do a comprehensive safety action plan was because the plan was the gateway to other funding opportunities. As soon as the Mat-Su Borough was eligible for a plan or received their grant to do their plan, they were immediately eligible to apply for other supplemental plans or demonstration projects. But the big carrot for them, and it affects all areas within their jurisdiction, so that includes the city of Wasilla, is it makes them eligible to apply for implementation to go physically build projects recommended in their plan. And this isn't just out there, other states get these grant monies. Right here in Alaska, there's been many successful grants. The first big one last year, the municipality of Anchorage was successful, getting $25 million for McGraw Street. And they were able to do that because their municipal planning organization, AMATS, had conducted their own safety plan. But Mat-Su Borough was one of the first in the state to complete a safety action plan under the SS4A program. And that's key because, like I said earlier, only if you have an approved action plan can you be eligible to apply money to go build the projects. Kenai Peninsula Borough was right behind them, but they didn't complete their plan in time for the grant application. So the good timing for the Mat-Su Borough, they adopted the plan in April. I really encourage you all to go take a look at it. If you don't look at anything else, look at the recommended projects in Chapter 7, because I think they're a lot of interest to the whole community, but certainly affect a lot of Wasilla. And we do talk about the Parks Highway and the problem that presents for the community. And just quickly, to clear up anything, I mean, this is a plan, it's a tool, it's to be used for good as you see fit, and it gives some good recommendations and strategies and programs used nationwide to successfully improve safety. It gives a lot of really good data, you slice and dice a lot of different ways, shows areas of concern throughout the borough, the trends of crashes that are happening. Spoiler alert, everything's related to speed. Everything comes down to speed for the serious crashes. But what I want to really emphasize, this is not a mandate of any kind. Yes, we took federal money to develop a safety plan, but it's not a stick to make force anyone to meet any kind of safety objective, or else they'll get something taken away. It's really an incentive for communities to make a bold vision for reducing their fatal and serious injury crashes. But it doesn't set up any obligations. It just really encourages continued reflection on how the borough is doing toward their safety goals. It is not, we didn't evaluate the entire borough boundary. We evaluated what we called an expanded core area, includes all 3 incorporated cities with a goal to address the populated area of the borough. But as we found out, though, the rural areas of the borough have their share of safety concerns as well. We did a lot of public involvement during the 9-month plan development, and that's all covered in the plan. But big takeaways here, probably not a big surprise that we heard from a lot of people in the community. Lack of enforcement was a huge concern. A lot of people felt that there was a greater need for more walking and biking facilities, despite the fact there has been a lot built in recent years. I think people recognize they want more. People want to feel safe walking their dog in their own neighborhood. Maintenance came up frequently. A lot of people said, hey, nice new facilities would be great, but how about we take care of what we have? And that is a real challenge for a lot of communities in our state. And ATV rider behavior came up very frequently. Our survey was out last year when the woman in Big Lake was killed by a dirt bike on the bike path, and that was definitely on people's minds. So the 5 years of available crash data we had almost 5,000 crashes in 5 years. That works out to about a crash every 9 hours happening in the borough, and those are just the ones we know about and that were reported. 57 of those were fatal. Someone didn't make it home that night. And 159 had a serious injury, which may have been incapacitating, potentially changing their life forever. And those are the ones we really wanted to focus on and find out what was happening to contribute to those circumstances. And also, maybe not surprisingly to anyone here, crashes are concentrated in Wasilla. That's a direct result of Parks Highway, Palmer-Wasilla Highway, KGB Road. And thankfully, KGB has help on the way with recent improvements, so we definitely hope to see those crashes go down. But most of them are happening on the higher speed main arterial roads right around Wasilla. And part of the plan, we looked at what other communities, winter states throughout the U.S., what their crash data said to see, how the borough stood up to crash statistics. The population isn't as high in Mat-Su as it is in, say, Cass County, North Dakota, but there's interstates that run through there. Same with these communities in Colorado, Missoula, Montana. But what you can see here on the left, the takeaway is Mat-Su Borough is leading in crashes per capita, when you correct for population, and also for vehicle miles traveled when you correct for the volume and extent of road network that you have. And these are not statistics you want to be leading in. Particularly when you look at the statewide average, that's the 4th bar to the left, considerably higher than the statewide average, and definitely higher than Fairbanks, where I live. So this is something we want to see go down. Interesting fact too, that number of 14.3 crashes per 100,000 population goes up to about 18.5 when you account for all the crashes throughout the Mat-Su Borough, not just the expanded core area. And that's not pulling in very many population with it, it's pulling in a lot of crashes with it. But the plan is more than just about slicing and dicing data. We looked at other plans. The Bogard-Selden corridor plan was going on at the same time our plan was going, and we had a lot to look at with Bogard Road. We looked at other policies and programs and what was working in the borough, because there are good things happening with safety here. Roundabouts are a big one. Roundabouts have been, even if you don't like them, they are effective at reducing crashes. They force people to slow down. And serious crashes don't happen at slow speeds. That's just physics. But it also acknowledged areas that could improve. We developed a safety toolkit that planners and engineers can use when they're looking at developing new projects, and just things they might want to use and consider throughout their projects. And we developed some risk criteria and profiles, so that we ultimately located some high-risk areas of the borough and recommended 16 proposed projects. So from that, Mat-Su Borough quickly adopted the plan and then immediately turned around to submit an implementation grant application. That grant was submitted in June and pulled in some of those recommended projects I'll tell you about in a minute. Their theme for their application focused on safety around schools for non-motorized users primarily. They also focused on projects that were already approved by the Assembly in their transportation improvement program. So they weren't introducing new projects that would require new appropriations for match. The borough and the voter bond package had already approved these. They proposed $16 million of construction improvements, which is right in the range of $2.5 million to $25 million, which was the max you could request. And also $350,000 for continued safe routes to school planning. Just speaking from odds, they have about $500 million they're going to give away to probably 400 to 700 applicants for the planning funds. I think the Mat-Su Borough is in a good position to be successful with that. And I think it's around 40 to 70 awards anticipated for $500 million of funding nationwide. And there's a good chance Alaska would be looked at if you're going to equitably distribute awards. So I think their chances are decent. We'll have to see in November. So a little bit about that project or about that grant. One is focused around Wasilla Middle and High School for path improvement on Bogard Road. I'll talk to you about that next. Also up at Shaw Elementary, a roundabout at Paradise Lane and Wasilla Fishhook, as well as a path that's associated with the extension project to Charlie Drive. And then Colony Middle and 49th State Street Path, that project has been in the works for a while. The borough's effectively ready to build it if money were to show up. Also down in Palmer, Arctic Avenue and Auckland Avenue sidewalks access Academy Charter, and also connect facilities to the underpass under the Glen Highway to connect students to Palmer High School. And then area-wide, we're looking at installing no motor vehicle signs on all separated pathways to enforce the state law that only bicycles and pedestrians can be on those paths. And more about the Wasilla project is here. It's up at Wasilla High School. We're trying to get a path connection from Cruzy to the middle school so that there's a safe way to cross from the high school to the middle school. They can cross the road at the signal currently, but then they're just on the side of the road if they go into the middle school. So want to connect that gap. The Wasilla Main Street project is going to have a path connection on the west side coming into the school. So this would complete a gap in the network. The other part of the proposal was to install a sidewalk on West Point Drive, right in front of McDonald's on the south side, getting into the commercial area, just to make that area more walkable in the commercial district. And then the last piece has a goal of reopening the Parks Highway underpass and making it a tunnel that people feel safe and comfortable using. So to do that requires mitigating the groundwater flooding that occurs, sealing up the tunnel with some jet grouting, installing improved lighting and some security cameras. And that will connect, obviously, access to Newcomb Park and the whole neighborhood over on Railroad Avenue, everything across Parks Highway. So what's next is we wait on the SS4A implementation grant outcomes. Something to know, there will be at least one more call for grant funding next year. The city is an eligible applicant as part of the Mat-Su Borough. And so that's something certainly to coordinate with your city partners on. This application was coordinated between City Public Works and the Mat-Su Borough, which was great, and also the City of Palmer and School District was involved in that application. But your local municipal planning organization, MVP, can also apply for any of these grants. And these are all great partners to use. And really, if you don't take anything else away tonight, just the power of a plan that says what your community wants and what your public wants is really powerful because it's written down in the plan. You can use it to apply for grants or other capital funding opportunities. Crystal, I heard her mention water and sewer planning. Great time to think about water and sewer planning if you're going to be digging up a road already. So there's a lot of power in plans, and as a planning commission, I hope that any plan that comes to you for consideration, make sure it has the things you want and meets the goals that you want. And so we'll continue to use the plan to see how safety is improving over time. We hope to see some improvements. There's a lot of road projects planned in this area over the next few years, but the funding's just not keeping up with the needs. They're a very fast-growing community, so all these grant opportunities, every opportunity counts. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, happy to take them, but hope everyone takes a chance to check out the plan.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, through the chair, just a quick question. Can you, the existing underpass parks parked to the railroad, can you briefly say what that's going to be, or are you enlarging it, or?
The existing tunnel is there. It's a sound structure. It's a very long structure that goes under the railroad and 6 lanes of the Parks Highway. It's closed off at each end, as you may be aware, just to keep people out. I think there was some criminal activity happening, and it floods. So there's nothing wrong with the tunnel itself. We're not replacing it, not doing anything like that, but there's water seeping in from the ground, which implies there's cracks in the tunnel structure itself that need to be filled to keep that water out. And in doing so, then it might be more appealing for people to use, especially install better lighting and make sure people know that there's cameras and they need to use the tunnel appropriately.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is public participation. We are now at persons to be heard, a time for members of the public to share their views with the Planning Commission. This is not a question and answer period or a time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to administration, or issues raised may be taken under advisement by the commission or administration. Anyone wishing to step forward may do so at this time.
Out of the way. So I'm gonna get this pulled up.
Welcome. Please write your name and contact information on the sign-up sheet. When you are finished, state your name for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Commission. I'm James Grogan from the Museum of Alaska Transportation and Industry. And what I'm here for is a resolution, hoping to get a resolution to do some land swap with the museum, who has 10 acres that the airport has planned to use that 10 acres for their airport expansion. And that same land swap would be for the C-21 over where the train depot is and the gravel pit that is a brown site right now that needs to be cleaned up. So what I'm proposing is a community working with the museum, and we would basically swap that land plus 1.5 million so that we can move the museum over, clean up the brown site, get that all cleaned up, and make a beautiful museum there. What that does is several things. It will enhance tourism. It will get more trolleys from that site to downtown. It will clean up a site that really needs to be cleaned up. It cleans up a gravel pit that goes from a gravel pit to a beautiful museum. We have over 2,000 exhibits, including a fin whale, which we just acquired this year, that's made national news, and go along with the mayor's downtown plan by taking the historic villages and buildings here and move them to that site, along with our Centennial train. We have C-123 aircraft, just a ton of stuff. You guys haven't come out to the museum. We have an amazing amount of things going on. The brownfield site is gonna be an issue. We're gonna push the energy independence. We're gonna do the planning. We have a trails plan, and it just goes on and on, the benefits. Quick bullets for that would be to clean up the brownfield site, It would help the airport expansion plan, which is done already under Article 16. It would put an education facility, which the museum has already got a $95,000 building permit and the building plans to put that out. It would increase the tourism because we'd have a trolley from the depot to downtown and to the Iditarod Museum and back. It makes the location a destination instead of just a stop, because there'd be a beautiful museum there as well as tours to downtown Wasilla. It would enhance the gravel pit. It would enhance the eyesore when you first come into town and not see that. You run the depot as a destination, not a stop. And the historic villages, also 557, there's an amazing train. Palmer's starting to pick up the tracks, so they really cut themselves short. Now we could become the destination for the 557 steam engine as well. So there are 1,000 positives, community, tourism, and just cleaning up the Brown site and get that place going. So if any questions, ooh, nice timing. Down to 30 seconds, that's what we have from museum. We're a nonprofit 501c3, and I did give you a handout so you can see the land that's circled A6 and C21, both owned by the city. And basically, you guys get the 10 acres at the airport to finish that plan, and we get a beautiful spot, location for the museum. And a couple of years to move everything out of that spot.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Is there anybody else wishing to speak? With no one else wishing to speak, we'll move to the consent agenda. Will the planning clerk please read the items for approval under the consent agenda into the record?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. We have 7.1 minutes of preceding meetings, and we have the regular meeting minutes for July 8th, 2025.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as read?
Commissioner Brown moved to accept the consent agenda as read.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Stafford seconds.
Is there any discussion? Are there any objections to the motion? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Next on the agenda is new business. Will the planning clerk please read the agenda item under new business, please?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. For 8.1, or our first item of business for this evening, we have RZ 2502, resolution number 2505, which is an application for rezone. The applicant name is Sergey Prokoshev. The owner's name is Andrei Prokoshev, and the request is for the rezone of Tract A, Hand Subdivision, 1581 South Bayview Drive, Wasilla, Alaska, 99654, from rural residential to multifamily. The lot area is plus or minus 1706 acres. The location is Tract A, Hand Subdivision, 1581 South Bayview Drive, Wasilla, Alaska, 99654, and the current zoning is rural residential.
Thank you. Will the contract planner please provide a report?
Chair, I'm gonna, in just a minute, our contract planner will speak to this, but I just want to say that this particular applicant approached us some time ago because of the need for housing. It seems to be a constant conversation in the community about getting more housing and being able to provide more housing to those that are relocating here. So I just wanted to thank the applicant for being very persistent and also follow through with everything we requested. We really do appreciate the time they've invested. And I'm gonna go ahead and let our planner go ahead and share some of the findings that the staff discovered in this application.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and start off reading the staff recommendation based on findings of compliance with applicable criteria established in section 16.16.070 and 16.16.050 of the Wasilla Municipal Code. Staff recommends denial of the rezone request and recommends that the applicant pursue subdivision of the tract in accordance with existing zoning and lot size regulations, which would support housing development while maintaining consistency with the area's intended character. So, moving on to staff finding VB, regarding restrictions, rezoning of an area less than 2 acres shall not be considered unless the rezoning involves the contiguous expansion of the existing zone or a planned unit development overlay district. Streets or other right-of-way shall not be included in calculating the minimum area for rezoning. The area to be rezoned shall be a logical integrated area. The staff finding, the subject tract totals approximately 17.06 plus or minus acres, and this application reflects a pattern seen in various parts of the city of Wasilla, where isolated multifamily zoning has been introduced within areas designated as rural residential. Moving on to staff finding D2 on page 77. The proposed rezoning substantially complies with section 16.16050 and section 16.20.2030 in the case of the establishment or modification of a PUD overlay district. Staff finding. The rezoning does not substantially comply with the applicable provisions of section 16.16.050 and section 16.20.030 is not applicable. The proposed rezone is not consistent with the character of the surrounding properties and is expected to result in off-site impacts to nearby residents, including increased traffic, noise, and additional demand on an existing city infrastructure. Moving on to staff finding D6, the resulting district or expanded district will be a logical integrated area, and the staff finding, the rezoning of the 17.06 plus or minus acre tract to multifamily when introduced a new zoning designation into an area currently surrounded by rural residential zoning. The property is addressed on South Bayview Drive, but appears to be accessed at the end of South Chilligan Drive and is not adjacent to any existing multifamily zoning. As such, the rezone would not create a contiguous or integrated zoning pattern and will be inconsistent with the established character of the surrounding area. Thank you.
Would the applicant like to speak on the application for rezone 25-02?
Yeah, I believe so.
This is the planning clerk through the chair. We have the owner, Andrei Prokoshev, participating telephonically. Andrei, we can hear you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Andrei Prokoshev, and I'm the landowner and investor along with my brother, Sergey. I'm here today to request that the property at 1581 South Bayview Drive be rezoned from rural residential to multifamily RM. Limited work has been done already on this property, such as clearing the land and putting in a road. Power, gas, and internet also has been brought in. The plan for the 17-acre parcel is to subdivide it into 10 lots. I believe that in doing so, it will prevent it from becoming too dense of an area, so that there would still be that neighborhood feel without being overly crowded. Understandably, the traffic may increase slightly due to increased population. However, I would like to note that the traffic is diverted to Fairview Loop, in which case it should not affect any residents north of this property. The safety of the neighborhood surrounding this area is important to me, and I have and will continue to be getting permits and anything needed to do work in this piece of land. It is not in my character, nor is it legal to do things without permission, which would jeopardize other people's safety. I would also like to note that I will be working with an engineer to ensure proper drainage of any surface level water that is present. This may prove to be helpful to others in the neighborhood as well. Before any structure will be erected on this property, regardless of it being a single or multifamily home, any and all required testing and evaluations will be performed. Multifamily homes would benefit the city of Wasilla in many ways. They may provide housing for the families and or medical personnel that are traveling, for example, travel nurses, generate more income in this area, and potentially create a tight-knit community. Multifamily homes will help with any housing shortage in Wasilla and can be a good way to ensure this land will be used in the best and most effective way. Thank you all for your time. And we appreciate all the constructive criticism. That'll be it.
Is the applicant wishing to speak tonight?
That would be the applicant. This is the planning clerk through the chair. The applicant is Sergey Prokoshev, and then the owner is Andre, and the owner was able to speak. But if Sergey is participating, then he has the floor, and if he is not present, then we will move forward.
The public comments portion of the public hearing is now open for application for rezone 2502. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item? Anyone wishing to step forward may do so at this time. Please write your name and contact information on the sign-up sheet. When you are finished, please state your name for the record. You will have 5 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name is Faith Lynn Best, and I live in that area. And it's already become a lot more busy with everything that's going on Knik, and people have found that as a way that they can cut off some distance, etc. And to put multifamily homes in there, especially in that little area, it's really kind of congested. And I mean, like as far as street access and such, and it could open it up to other lots. I don't know what, I just heard about it a couple days ago, but I don't know what all it could impact, but I know that it could have a negative impact that I'm certainly not in favor of. Like I said, I'm almost ready to ask for some speed bumps because of all the traffic through there. So I don't know that that would be something that would even be considered, but sometimes it's kind of crazy. So that's my concern, is an additional impact there. And like I said, that where that lot is, it's kind of a narrow part. I don't know how else to describe it, but anyway, those are my thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak during the public hearing? With no other public comments, the public comment portion of the hearing is closed. Does the applicant have anything else to address?
My name is Sergey Crookston.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, may I have a motion to either approve or deny application for rezone 2502, resolution serial number 2505?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve RS 2505 and Exhibit A as presented by planning.
Is there a second?
Can I ask for some clarification? The ordinance is written, or the resolution is written is to deny, so are you saying you want to approve the denial?
Yes.
Okay, so. Stafford seconds.
It has been moved by Commissioner Langell and seconded by Commissioner Stafford to deny application for rezone 2502, serial number 25-05. Is there any discussion by the commission?
Commissioner Brown, the applicant just mentioned that he had put a road in there. I don't remember a road coming before the committee, the acting planner. Are you familiar with us approving a road to be built?
To Commissioner Brown through the chair, I am not aware of a road that has been built.
Okay. And the second question, he's asking for this to be approved, but then we have a complaint of the work he's already done that may or may not be authorized by the city of the borough is causing landowners problem now with standing water on their own property now. So for someone coming before us to get something approved, but has already caused damage to his neighbors and appear to be doing things without the consideration of his current neighbors, I strongly oppose to this application and would encourage other city commissioners to vote against it.
Is there any further discussion?
Through the chair, clarification, you're opposed to it passing as written?
The application before us, I'm opposed.
Okay.
Through the chair, if I could clarify, the resolution is to deny the rezone.
Right.
So vote yes on the resolution is denying the rezone.
Hmm.
So you're in favor of the resolution
Oh,
if you're denying the rezone.
Yes,
You're
yes.
oppose the resolution if you want the rezone.
Right.
Is there any further discussion?
I'll just share my my thoughts behind how I'm probably going to vote. I'm not swayed by the argument of we don't want our nice neighborhood to be ruined, because unless you buy the entire neighborhood. However, the people that bought there did buy in an area that was zoned rural residential. So they bought kind of on the precept that this would stay rural residential. So that would leave me inclined that I will support the resolution to deny the rezone. I know that puts the developer in a bad spot, but to have gone this far in financially without having that rezone secured first was probably not a wise move on their part. So I feel bad for the developer, but again, the people that bought there bought with the understanding that this is rural residential and would not have the multifamily, and I feel like that's an obligation we have to honor under the pretenses under which they bought.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I'm assuming since it is already zoned RR, if a road has been punched in or put in, that would still be usable for the RR, although not permitted.
Yeah, and I would agree, we're not saying you can't ever use this property for anything, we're just saying you have to honor the original zoning under which the neighbors bought their property, under the understanding is that that's what it was.
Okay.
If it was, yeah, just my thought.
So DeYoung through the chair, R to me is you can do a duplex or single family, so they're not out, they just can't do a fourplex or bigger, so. Or triplex or above, exactly, but they could do duplexes, so that's not, I mean, that still would give housing, which we do need, but under what the neighbors bought for, so I agree with the resolution.
Commissioner Seals. Yeah, it was 17 acres and half-acre lots. You can add quite a few duplexes in there, and that will give the housing, but still give the neighborhood its appeal.
Yep.
And so, is there any further discussion? With no further discussion, will the planning clerk please call for a roll call vote to deny application for rezone 2502, resolution serial number 2505.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, just to confirm, a yes vote is denying the request. And that's, I think, what you said, Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, William Earnhardt, city attorney, that is, you're approving the resolution says denying the request.
Okay, so a yes is a no.
Yes. And no is a double no, so.
Positive no.
Yeah.
It's a negative.
And now we see how politics work. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
I misread the first part of this.
Thank you, City Attorney.
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Seals,
Yes.
Commissioner Langell,
Yes.
Commissioner DeYoung,
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford.
Yes.
By unanimous vote, the RZ 2502, resolution number 2505 has been denied.
Next item under new business is item 8.2. Will the planning clerk please read the item under new business into the record, please?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. The second item under new business is AA 25-160, which is administrative approval. 25-160, resolution number 2506. The applicant / owner is Marlene Smith, but we do have her brother Rory Grant here this evening to represent. The request is, as titled, is single-family dwelling accessory use / building for 41 by 34 by 12 U-shaped retaining wall. The lot area is plus or minus 0.31 acres, and the location is Lot 12, Block 2, Lake Shore 1960 subdivision, 1018 East Lake Shore Avenue, Wasilla, Alaska 99654, and the current zoning is multifamily.
Thank you. Would the applicant like
I'm the agent,
pardon, hang on, we're not ready for that yet, excuse me. Thank you. Will the contract planner please provide a report?
Chairman Seals, this is the acting city planner. I just wanted to make a few comments. One is this was an application that I elevated up to the Planning Commission. There's a lot of public input, and I wanted to thank the applicant for being very cooperative. He's provided us with all the information that we asked. This is an example of retroacting how something came about, and we're trying to do the right thing. And so I think it's really important to practice the public process when it comes to something like this. And so I'll go ahead and let our contract planner explain the details.
Yes, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and read over some of the summary of facts. So starting with the staff recommendation. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission deny the administrative approval / elevated permit based on findings of noncompliance with applicable criteria established in section 16.16.050 of the Wasilla Municipal Code.
Page number, please.
Moving on to page 132 of findings 2. For plans, the proposal is substantially consistent with the city comprehensive plan and other city adopted plans. This criterion is met. The City of Wasilla's comprehensive plan designates the subject property as mixed use / transitional on the expected future land use map. The proposed accessory use is consistent with multifamily zoning and may be permitted through an administrative approval. The surrounding lots are primarily residential and commercial, which aligns with the character of the proposed permit. Moving to page 133, staff finding 5, neighborhoods, due deference has been given to the neighborhood plan or comments and recommendations from a neighborhood with an approved neighborhood plan. The staff finding, although there are no approved neighborhood plans in this area, 3 public comments were received regarding the proposed accessory use permit. All 3 of the comments expressed opposition, citing concerns that the structure on the property was originally built without a permit and did not comply with the required setback standards. Staff finding number 8 on page 133, dimensional standards. The dimensional requirements of WMC 16.24.010 are met. Staff finding, this criterion is not met under WMC 16.24.030. The structure includes a roof and is designed in a manner consistent with a boathouse, which qualifies it for an exemption from the 75-foot setback requirement. However, per WMC 16.24.030 C3, the boathouse must be located primarily over water, and per photo B, platforms and footings construction, which is in your packet on page 83. That was submitted in the application. The structure was not originally constructed over water. Additionally, there is inconsistency in the historical intended use of the structure. Moving to page 134, staff finding 11. Drainage. The proposed use shall provide for the control of runoff during and after construction. All roads and parking areas shall be designed to alleviate runoff into public streets, adjoining lots, and protect rivers, lakes, and streams from pollution. Uses may be required to provide for the conservation of natural features such as drainage basins, watersheds, and land stability. Staff findings. This criterion is not met. There is no documentation to support that the parking runoff does not drain into Wasilla Lake. Additionally, there is no supporting documentation that the construction was done so in a manner to prevent pollution into Wasilla Lake. Moving to page 135, the end of 134 leading into 135, staff finding 14, off-site impacts. The proposal shall not significantly impact surrounding properties with excessive noise, fumes, or odors, glare, smoke, light, vibration, dust, litter, or interference in any radio or television receivers off-road or off the premises, or cause significant line voltage fluctuations off the premises. Radio transmitters of any electronic communications equipment regulated by the Federal Communications Commission is specifically excluded from regulation by the section. Welding, operation of electrical appliances or power tools or similar activities that cause off-site impacts as described above are specifically regulated by this subsection. Buffering may be required to ameliorate impacts between residential and non-residential uses. The owner of the property upon which the buffer is constructed is responsible for the maintenance of the buffer in a condition that will be met with the intent of this criteria. The criterion is not satisfied. The project has potential for off-site impacts due to its proximity to Wasilla Lake. Per reviewing party comment from Alaska Department of Fish and Game, Wasilla Lake is cataloged as an anadromous water body and may require a fish habitat evaluation for activities that modify the bed and banks of Wasilla Lake. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to speak on the administrative approval elevated for AA 25-160?
Oh, of course, yes, thank you. I really appreciate the chance to represent my sister This has been a very long process that goes back to 2006.
Please write your name and contact information on the sign-up sheet.
Oh, I have to sign twice?
Oh, you've already done it?
Over there.
Yeah, yes, please, sir.
Yes,
Sign
yes,
twice?
please.
I don't mind giving autographs. Okay.
When you're finished, state your name for the record. You will have 5 minutes to speak.
Only 5 minutes?
Only 5 minutes.
I really,
But we may come back to you for more.
thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, my name is Rory O'Boyle, and I'm attorney of fact for Marlena Smith. We both currently reside at 1018 Lakeshore Avenue. I thought if you follow the chronology, originally the wall was built by my late brother-in-law, who was a cantankerous son of a gun, who tangled with your code enforcement people over a number of years. He didn't follow the rules. He created a lot of trouble. And my sister, after he passed, said, well, I would like to resolve these issues. The retaining wall has existed for 20 years. For 20 years. Now, issues about the lot and how it was graded, I think the city should have addressed that at that time. I mean, in 2007, the borough said that it was construction within the water of the floodplain. A judge said that that wasn't correct, that there was no established floodplain at that time. So he never finished the building. It went on and on for years and years and years. My sister was very upset with it. If you can see in the pictures, you can see that it's a very small wall. People cut through the property all the time. Someone could fall and do a header off of that wall without a roof on it and cut themselves on the 1/4 inch by 2 inch steel things that are in the inside wall all over it. I'd like to ask a question. Was the decision that it didn't follow the requirements for a boathouse made solely on that picture that was submitted? Because if it wasn't, if it was, it's totally incorrect. I don't believe that any of your staff went out and looked at the inside of the structure. There are 7 springs that are bubbling up underneath that structure, and approximately 80% of the floor is covered with flowing water that flows down, creates a little rivulets and a little stream that runs from the center in the back of the structure all the way down and then spills over the water's edge into the lake. So the structure is built mostly over water. And yet this is, yet you contend that that's not true. I don't believe anybody actually ever went out and checked on it. Now, I agree. My brother-in-law was a son of a bitch, and he treated people like that. But my sister wants to make it right. But she's a smart person. She didn't want to leave herself vulnerable to a lawsuit for somebody falling in and cracking their heads by falling over that wall. That's why she put the top on it. Also, she did it to protect the springs. Now, in that picture that you see, when the wall was first constructed, it's not really obvious, the springs. You can see that it's wet in the center there, but the springs weren't that big. I believe my brother-in-law primarily constructed the wall to keep the parking and the entrance of the driveway from sloughing into the lake. And the reason that he would have the knowledge to know that that was not really sufficient is because he was the chief engineer for Delta Western and all of their road work and all of the berms that contain those tanks and all of the safety. So if anyone would know whether that grade was originally insufficient to hold the lot from sloughing into the lake, it would be him. Because he ran, I mean, he was one of the best dirt men around. Now, he was a jerk, I'll admit, and he did ignore the law for a long time. But this should have been dealt with. I mean, the city had ample opportunity to come and address this back in 2007. So here we are at 225. Richard the jerk has been dead for 2 years. My sister comes forward. We took 5 meetings with staff, and I thought when we talked with the attorney or the person who came from the attorney's office that we had come to a solution by designating it as a boathouse, which is what it has functioned for through the past 10 years. Even though I have to keep my kayaks and my canoe up on sawhorses because the floor is covered by 2 inches or 3 inches of water because of the 7 different springs that are coming down and falling into the lake. Now, where were the springs in the original photo, you ask? Well, they weren't as strong then, because in 2018, we had something called an earthquake.
Thank you.
And after that earthquake, those springs, the flow increased tremendously, and the.
Your 5 minutes is up. We will come back to you.
Thank you.
We'll come back to you. You'll have another chance to speak.
Thank you.
You burned through your 5 minutes plus.
I know. I appreciate your indulgence.
Thank you. The public comments portion of the public hearing is now open for administrative approval elevated for AA 25-160. Is there anyone wishing to speak on this item? Anyone wishing to step forward may do so at this time. We'll call you back up.
I do, but I don't want to be the first one up.
We don't bite, come on.
Someone's gotta be.
Someone's got to be first.
You did it, but. You can.
Who's gonna flip the coin?
Huh?
Who's gonna flip a coin?
Well, somebody else has got to be behind me then. Oh, okay, thank you.
Please write.
Someone take your pen here.
Oh, sorry, I stole the pen.
Famous for throwing them.
Don't throw it at me.
Only cost me 1 job.
Please write your name and contact information on the sign-up sheet. When you are finished, please state your name for the record. You will have 5 minutes to speak.
Evening. My name is Michael Fugier, and I live over on Lakeshore Avenue, Lakeside Terrace Townhouses, which is, this area is right across the lakeshore from our property as it be. I know that this property has a lot of history, and my one input would be, I don't see it as a boathouse. And one of the reasons, yes, you can come up with water in it. However, the water in that inlet is no more than 6 inches deep. I can't go in there with my motorized kayak that only takes 6 inches of water without running aground. There's no way you would get an airplane in there. So that's basically my input. The only other question I have is, what happens if this goes bad, you know, for this gentleman? Does it have to be removed, or that's the only thing I don't know. So, thank you for your time today, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, you're not first.
Come on, thanks a lot.
All two of us.
Forgot where I lived.
When you're finished, please state your name for the record.
Yep, not a problem. Kathleen Koenig. What was the other thing you said?
That's it.
Oh, okay, Kathleen Koenig. On Wasilla Lake.
Yeah.
On West Point Drive. I've been here on the lake ever since they started building that in 2004. Not 6, 4. And my first thing when I got this was, my question is, my question is, request for single-family dwelling accessory use building approval for the 41-foot by 34-foot by 12-foot U-shaped retaining wall. Okay, it says several things here. Retaining wall, single-family dwelling accessory. When you look up single-family dwelling accessory on the internet, you can have a single-family dwelling accessory on any flat, thing that you have on the lake, on the water, on a shed, on anything you want, and build a house on it. I do have a question for you guys. Is anyone going to read the 3 people's comments that, okay, good, because one of them asked that question that says the only reason why they're doing this is so that they can build a house on it or a residence on it so they can get more money value on the property. Okay, that being said, that's it. Number 2, his sister or his brother was fined multiple times saying that he had not gotten permission from the city between 2004 and 2006. And then he passed away in 2006. Or 2009, I'm not sure exactly which one.
No.
No?
Well,
Passed away in 2022.
Oh, well, okay, yeah. He passed away in 2022?
Yeah, he passed away in 2022.
Okay, I am sorry. I do have that wrong. I was told differently. I know I have complained to the city multiple times when they started up again in 2024 building that they were building without a permit. And I was told by the city to stop calling because you all were told to quit, that you had to quit fining them. That you weren't going to fine them anymore because you were because you were told not to fine them anymore. And I was like extremely ticked because I know I can't do anything on my property, because believe me, if I try to do anything on my property, you know, heck, it's gonna hit the fan if I try to do anything. But they've been in trouble since 2002. 2004, 2004. And anyway, it's not only the building, it's where the building is. That is an area where, like the one gentleman said, there's only like 6 or 7 inches of water there. So it's not only you can't get a boat in there, that is an area where birds, ducks, geese go. They're there all summer long. You can go there now, this summer. There are no birds, ducks, and geese there. Hardly any, let's put it this way. Usually there are like 50 birds, ducks, and geese. And I have photos of that many birds, ducks, and geese over the years. Even swans going over there. They're not there now. Probably because of the metal coming off of the building when they were building that. Because it's a metal building sloping down to the lake. And it is also a salmon sanctuary. That is where the salmon, the coho, and
Thank you.
there's another fish that goes and they
Thank you very much.
spawn there.
You did great.
And they're not spawning there now.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak? Write your name, contact information, state your name for the record when you're ready to start.
Okay, hi, my name is Alexis Brown. That's okay. Let me reset it.
All done now.
Okay. I came to this just to kind of get information. I live across the cove from this dwelling unit and didn't really know what was happening with it. We moved in last summer, so not super familiar with what's happening, but a couple of things were brought up that I wanted to comment on, so I'll keep it brief. But definitely I can see into the dwelling unit from my porch, and I can see water moving through it, some sort of spring. I don't know how much water it is, but there is some movement, and you can see the trickle in the water. And every August, I was told prior to moving in, every August the salmon do come and spawn there, and I did witness that last year. Even when they were putting the roof on of that, I think it looks much nicer with the roof rather than it just being the concrete structure. I also kind of believe if you own land that you should be able to use that for what you want to use it for, and if it is providing more housing, that's something that is need here. So even if you were building another structure to rent out, I don't personally have an issue with that, but I would really want to look into the habitat of the salmon and the ducks and everything that do live there. The ducks are still there. I see little babies every day and they're so cute. I have not personally seen swans there, but all winter long, there's lots of birds, lots of seagulls, lots of eagles, and I find the remnants in my yard, and it's wonderful and disgusting. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's gonna take longer to sign in than my comment. Okay, just real quick, I just urge, I'm not trying to, James Grogan, trying to condone bad behavior, good behavior, positive or negative, but I do worry significantly if we have him remove this building structure, will that do more damage than, more harm than good? That's my biggest fear about polluting this water. You take that stuff out, it really takes a lot of damage, so just something for you guys to consider. Thanks.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak? With no other public comments, the public comment portion of the hearing is closed. Does the applicant have anything else to address?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. The last commenter I really identified with because part of the reason that Richard created and built the wall without getting a permit was to keep the driveway and the lot from sloughing into the lake, which would degrade the salmon spawning area. I remember Richard coming and feeding the mated pair of swans every year that they came through. He was a great environmentalist and he was a great sportsman. He was a former member of the Isaac Walton League. And his worry was that the lot would fall into the lake. Now, the spring and the wet area that you see on page, well, it's there it is, the footings, when he was building the footings in 04. You can see the original site plan that he did, 04. So she was right, the lady was right. He did it in 04. You can see the wet area where the springs are bubbling up. And so those were springs when he built the footing, those springs were very, very, there wasn't a lot of water coming out of them. But the water and the springs have increased in flow since that time. And in 2018, when we had the big earthquake, more springs came up through the floor of, in between the footings. And now almost the entire bottom of the structure is under between 1 inch and 3.5 inches of water. It flows in a sheet down into the lake. It forms rivulets and little streamlets that come together and form a creek in between, and then out the front. It goes down into the meander of the lake. And this amount of heavy upwelling from the springs has really increased since the earthquake in 2018. I believe that part of the reason that the spawning fish come there is because of the pure water. Those springs provide pure water for the salmon to come and have their babies. There's no oil from the jet skis and the fishing boats and the ski boats on Wasilla Lake or the airplanes. My neighbor knows that it's a sensitive area and the water in that little cove is only about that deep. So it's very easy for me to take my kayak or my canoe, walk out, put it in the water, step into it, and then go canoeing. I wish they would just ban all motorized traffic from that area because of the salmon habitat, Now, the other gentleman says, you try to take this down, it could stop the springs, it could cause great degradation to the salmon spawning beds and the water quality that are in that. Now, my sister came forward in all good faith and we took 5 meetings with staff to finally get this, to answer this question, to put it to bed, to deal with it. She says she's sorry that her husband was a jerk and did things the way he did. Now, on putting the roof over the structure, she contracted with a local contractor, Anatoly Molodkin, and she believed that he was going to pull a permit or do something. He did not do that. Now you can believe that, or you cannot believe it. But by putting what, ma'am?
Oh, no, I said
You
I
have a
believe
question?
Anatoly didn't pull a permit, yeah.
I believe, well, I'm sure he's not pulled other permits. But that's neither here nor there.
You can't take the building, if you take the building out and demolish it and you bring heavy equipment in to knock down that restraining wall, you're gonna compromise those springs. You're gonna compromise the water in those spawning beds. At this point, this building with the roof on it fulfills all the criterion to be designated a boat house and receive a permit. Now, I have a question for the attorney. In the statutes, does it show approved designs for what boathouses should be? Are there specified designs?
Through the chair, we're breaking procedure, but I'll answer if you'd like, sir.
Go ahead.
I don't think it has approved designs. The thing with the code is, and I'm not familiar with this file, I'm pinch hitting tonight, but here's in the code that you can have accessory structures if they're primarily over water.
Primarily, so would it be
Primarily over the water.
over the water, over
It
the
would allow
water?
this within the 75.
Over the water. Now, if over 50% of the floor of the structure is completely inundated by spring water and flowing water, would that meet the definition of water?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so.
I'm not sure it's defined.
The water is, yeah, it's not defined. It's not defined.
I don't know, I would have to research it. I don't know that that's true.
Well, okay, well, I believe that, that, I want my sister was hurt by this situation for a long, long time.
I understand,
And she's
sir,
tried to
but your
resolve,
time
she's
is
trying
up.
to resolve it. I encourage
Sir,
you to
Time is up.
reject the recommendation of staff and approve.
thank you. Now, may I have a motion to either approve or deny administrative approval elevated for AA 25-160, resolution serial number 2506.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve RS 2506 and Exhibit A as written.
And I'm sorry, just double check. This is another one where to vote no, we
Yeah.
vote yes. Is that correct, Mr. City Attorney?
Yes.
Yes, we're voting yes to deny.
Correct.
So in that case, Commissioner Stafford, I second.
Is there any discussion by the commission?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Lanchill, I appreciate the comments from the residents. I feel that this has gone on for so long, and when I look at the pictures, and I've lived here a long time, and I've watched that building go up, and I always said, who approved it in the first place? Did the Corps look at it? Was it a boathouse? Was it? It hasn't been properly engineered. It's within the 75-foot setback. So, I'm sorry. It was, more wrongs don't make a right. It needs to be, I will be voting in favor.
Commissioner Stafford, I appreciate the emotion of the homeowner and the neighbors. This has gone on for very long. It's confusing because at one point we're calling it a retaining wall and now we're calling it a boathouse. Are we just changing labels to try and see what can get approved? The picture I look at, I see a building built right on the edge of a lake. It sounds like the wall had been there for a long time and maybe just a truce had been called, and then last summer, the homeowner puts a roof on it. I really think who should be on the hook here is the contractor. Not a lawyer, but maybe contact one and look at a lawsuit against the contractor, because they're the ones that did you dirty. The rules didn't change that all of a sudden makes this wrong. The rules have always been there. This looks like to me a building built right on the edge of a lake, which everything I understand about wetlands is not how you do these things. And so I think
That's already been adjudicated by
Okay.
We're on level.
Well, regardless, putting a roof and siding on, to me, it looks like a building. It's, whatever decision was made last summer to hire a contractor and do this, took it to a whole nother level. And so, I don't see that doesn't look like a boathouse to me. It looks like a building, a garage. I think as a retaining wall, probably was an okay idea. You mentioned the concern of someone falling over. I would think a guard, a handrail around the perimeter. I don't see the need to make it into the building it now looks like. And so the way I read the city code, I don't think I can vote in favor of this, or I will be voting in favor of denying as well. I'm not unsympathetic to the concern here and the battle here, but one of the precedents I don't want to set as a planning commissioner is, hey, it's okay to do your own thing and then come back later and try and make it okay. The old saying, forgiveness is easier to get than permission. I don't think that's how a city should be ran, of do whatever and then come before the planning commission with an emotional story and hope you can sway them. I think code matters, and it's gonna continue to matter. We wanna see growth, we wanna see development, but we're not the Wild West, and we're not gonna do things just because I want to. There's code, and it's there for a reason. Our city council puts a lot of work into the code. Our city attorney just put, a year or whatever into looking at the planning code again and making some great revisions. Maybe this flies in Talkeetna, but we stopped being a frontier outpost about 50 years ago. And so if we're gonna continue to grow, we have to have a plan for it and a code for it and stick to it. That's just my opinion, and that's how I'll be voting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It's in the setback. And I feel bad, but the comments, I appreciated your comments. That's why we're here, because people, it's an emotional time. People want to do what they want to do on their property, but if we allow one, it opens the door to everybody else, because he got to do it, now I get to do it. And I just think that that's a bad precedence. So I will be voting yes.
This is Chair Seals. I know that this is a long, drawn-out thing, but before the roof went on, it would be the owner's due diligence to make sure the contractor had a permit to do any work on the thing. So the due diligence lies on the shoulders of the owner. And so I will be voting yes on this resolution as well. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question for the planner or acting contractor, whoever's doing it today. At any time during this whole process over the past years, was the Corps of Engineers or the borough ever involved in this, and did they approve it, and why was it ever allowed to go into that setback?
So there was reference to the Corps of Engineers being contacted in the application, but they did not provide comment when we sent out our reviewing parties. And I'm sorry, what was the other question? Oh, the borough.
I know the current ones didn't have any comment because they weren't the original. Originally, was their permits allowed by DEC or the Corps of Engineers or the borough to build it where it's at?
So I contacted the borough, and the borough does not, they don't provide building permits per their staff comment. And as far as the Army Corps of Engineers, it was not included in the application. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Ask me, I'll tell you. No. You wanna know? You can ask me.
No, not at this time, sir.
You don't wanna know? All right, that's good, that's fine.
Is there any further discussion? With no further discussion, will the planning clerk please call for a roll call vote to approve administrative approval elevated AA 25160, resolution serial number 25-06.
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Commissioner Brown?
Yes.
Commissioner Seals?
Yes.
Commissioner Langell?
Yes.
Commissioner DeYoung?
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford?
Yes.
By unanimous consent, the administrative approval elevated number 25-160, resolution number 2506 is approved for the denial of the single-family dwelling accessory use building / retaining wall.
We are now at unfinished business. With no items under unfinished business, we move to communications. We are now at communications. Would the planning clerk please read the items for approval under the communications into the record?
Thank you, Commissioner Seals. Hold on one second, let me get to that page. I got them all mixed up. Okay. For 10.1, permit information, we have permits and licenses issued July 2nd to July 15th, 2025. And then we have enforcement log, code violations, July 2nd through July 15th, 2025, and no agendas for the Mat-Su Borough Planning Commission.
Thank you. We are now at move to audience comments. We are now at audience comments, a time for members of the public to share their views with the commission. This is not a question and answer period or a time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to administration, or issues raised may be taken under advisement by the council or administration. Is there anyone present who would like to address the commission? With no one wishing to speak, we now move on to comments. Does the acting city planner have any comments?
No comments.
Does the city attorney have any comments?
No comments.
Commissioner Brown, do you have any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank all the citizens who participated in person and for those who wrote in comments. And I just encourage citizens of Wasilla to be mindful of the commission meetings and to continue to add input and see what's happening in your city. You are the ones who will decide what we look like 10, 20, 30 years from now. And unless you get involved, you may not like what you see. So I thank you for being involved tonight and encourage you to continue to be involved in what the city is doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lengill, do you have any comments?
Yes, first I wanted to say thank you to the planning department. The new format for the packet is wonderful. Other than the font for us old people is very hard to read.
I could read it just fine. Yourself.
And I do want to thank the public. We need more of you involved, letting us know what you want in this city. So that is appreciated. That's it.
Commissioner DeYoung.
No comment.
Commissioner Stafford.
I also want to thank the public for their participation, and for the Transportation Museum. I'm really intrigued by your ideal of making the Transportation Museum much more visible. It's a great facility, and there could be a real chance for partnership there with the Alaska Railroad and the location there. So curious to see it unfold. That's all I have.
As Chair Seals, my comments tonight are, I really like the airport swap idea. The airport needs the space, the museum needs visibility. And so I think that would be a perfect spot. We hope that the city and the museum can work together and get this project going, because it'll help both the airport expansion and the museum. Beneficial to both parties. That's all I have tonight.
Do we need to make that a resolution, or does that come later for the museum swap? How does that work?
I think they'll be in negotiations and probably a resolution will be brought forth by either the planning commission or the council.
Through the chair, you can pass a resolution, or you could have it drafted beforehand at, say, your next meeting, if you want to be that official in your support. Otherwise, it's a matter of record, and I'm assuming the planners will take it to the administration of, you guys are in favor of it.
We have that done?
I'm assuming ultimately the city council has to sign off on it,
We can
but
make that.
can,
I suggest we move it to the agenda for next meeting and have more discussion.
yeah, I think I'd agree with it. Do we need to pass a resolution asking the planning department to?
And your resolution would just be you're in favor of it, but they have to look into the details. You have no authority to approve it in any way. It's just communicating in board commission is in favor, or not in favor.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we instruct the planning department to bring forth a resolution for our next meeting to show our support for this project.
A motion?
Yeah, that's a motion.
Second. Commissioner Brown, second.
Planning clerk, do you have a comment?
Thank you, Chairman Seals, or Commissioner Seals. Normally I don't, but I also wanted to just piggyback off of the next meeting. The next meeting that is scheduled for August 12th is going to be canceled. So the next meeting is going to be August 26th. Just wanted that to be on the record. Thank you.
Well, that'll give the planning department more time.
Yeah.
And so let's do a roll call vote on our motion that's on the floor.
Okay, Commissioner, hold on one moment. Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Seals,
Yes?
Commissioner Langell,
Yes.
Commissioner DeYoung,
Yes.
Commissioner Stafford.
Yes.
Okay, by unanimous vote, the motion for further discussion on this proposed airport museum road swap will continue to the August 26th meeting, Planning Commission meeting.
Thank you. With no further business at hand, I'm adjourning the meeting unless an objection is raised. Hearing no objection, the meeting is adjourned at 7:43 p.m. Thank you all.